Hello, everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip. I'm definitely one of those viewers that does like getting answers.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, this movie does not do that. And so, as I was sitting there with my thoughts, like, okay, I liked it, but I kind of wanted a little bit more from it, blah, 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 blah. But I think really, if you just say, okay, if you were these characters and you were going through this event, this is kind of what you would experience. You know, you wouldn't get the answers before you died. And so we only know as much as these characters, and thank God the protagonist is a chemical biology whatever the fuck, because she at least can like give you clues that of like what's going on. But at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, it's just like fucking alien creatures or sea creatures that are body snatching people or something like that.
This is true, yes. And she is an organic biologist.
Sure, that sounds like her thing.
Well, it's important though, because of course we're talking about biology and the changing nature of the world and the seas, and how as soon as you start to heat up the ocean, some microbes start to come out and fill up the air and kill you.
That is something that I actually really appreciated. So, I mean, the first act of this film really kind of employs that technique a lot more, where it's just close-ups on things, especially liquid. And the one shot that I was like, ooh, is the wine pour. When you see, I mean, I think it's tiny little air bubbles, or maybe it's sediment too, but I've seen that obviously as I pour wine, because I drink the occasional glass of wine. And it was just like, when you kind of knew that it was going to be cosmic, and my husband pointed this out to me, he was like, oh yeah, like those things floating in the air, that's very Lovecraftian. So I can see how people would like say, oh, that's what makes it cosmic horror. And having recently watched Color Out of Space, I related.
Yeah, and just in case you were wondering why we're saying cosmic as opposed to the L word, it's because Lovecraft was a human piece of shit, and well, he is responsible for a number of really great narrative and visual tropes that have basically made a big reappearance in horror in the last couple of years.
They really have.
It's just as easy to say cosmic horror, and that way you don't have to attribute anything to a racist piece of shit.
That's true. I want to go back to the spoilers really, really quickly, just like for a tidbit. But when you're ready, if you're reviewing this movie, do you say? Cause, there were like 6 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Some of them from people we know, some of them people we don't. But I found that the reviews that I thought were the best was when it said, "Oh, it's a slow burn that builds to a fantastic moment of body horror before things really start to like go crazy." Right. That makes sense. But then there were others that were like, "Oh, an impromptu foot surgery," or like, and I'm like, I get it, and I think, when you're doing festivals, because this premiered, it made its world premiere at the Brooklyn Horror Film Festival last October. And then, like, really, like, set waves. Made waves. I've done that already, haven't I? I think I did that in one of our, like, last episodes. But it really, like, took off, too, at the Chattanooga Film Festival, which was one of the first virtual film festivals of COVID?
Correct, yeah. Just, like, under a month ago, this was the film that people were raving about coming out of that festival.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just my 2 cents, if I'm writing a review of this, I would maybe say, what the catalyst of the film is like the moment of body horror that just kind of like, sends it on its roller coaster ride. I wouldn't specify that it's a foot trauma.
I mean, you could even say it's a foot trauma, but you don't need to say it involves plucking something out of your foot. And yeah, it's very easy to make that mistake, particularly if you are trying to hook people when you're writing something. But at the end of the day, that is arguably the film's best moment. Like, if you're talking about horror and visuals, like, that moment, that's the moment that Brian got up from the couch and said, "I'm out." So that's how you know it worked.
And I don't have a lot of, like, I don't have the budget for this film. I'm assuming it's pretty small, but it looks great for what it is. The first reveal on the beach of the worm in her foot looks fucking fantastic. The foot surgery part looks mostly good. My only critique, and I'm just attributing this to like low budget, the toes on the foot model looked very fake.
Yeah, the foot itself doesn't look great. The creature effects are great.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 100% agreed.
Yeah. So I'm curious, did you do your usual clocking of when things happened in this movie?
I didn't. So I did something that I haven't really done before. I took very few notes. I had my phone away. That's why I wasn't like texting you during the film really until the last 20 minutes. And I just watched it. I just experienced it because I figured with something like this, I probably just needed to kind of let it take me in.
Mm-hmm.
it shit. Unintentional. I will say that it's 87 minutes long. It feels
maybe a smidget longer.
It feels a little bit longer, but not bad. Like I would never say I was bored in this film. I think the first act, which is probably going to be the biggest hurdle for some people, because if you're going in expecting aquatic cosmic horror, the first act of this movie is going to be like, why am I watching these people talk? Blah, 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 blah.
Why am I watching a relationship drama?
It was late in the afternoon when the professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I knew Jonathan was coming.
Jonathan Harker has asked me to note this, as he says he is hardly equal to the task, and he wants an exact record kept.
Dear Madam Mina, I have read your husband's so wonderful diary. Strange and terrible as it is true. I will pledge my life on it.
God preserve my sanity, for to this I am reduced. Safety and the assurance of safety are things of the past.
I am in hopes that I shall see more of you at Castle Dracula.
Listen to Regarding Dracula wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm.